Nicole. Nicole, welcome to Halloween.
It's so spooky here on the Gem stage.
You look fabulous tonight.
Well, thank you. Exciting.
We have Cris from OC Ghosts and Legends. Let's bring him on stage, everyone. Come on out, Cris. Come on out. Hello. Welcome. Take a seat and welcome to our show.
Thank you.
We're so excited. Wait a minute.
Damien, Cris doesn't have a cocktail.
It's cocktail hour. Did you not know the rules?
Where's my cocktail?
Cocktail boy! Oh, here he comes.
Wonderful.
Oh, there we go. Ooh, the bubbly one.
Wonderful.
Cheers, cheers, cheers. Well, welcome to our show, but welcome back to our theater.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes, we're so excited that you came with us tonight. I called you a couple of weeks ago, said we're doing this show. Would you feel comfortable going out and sharing with us what you do? So share with us, what is it that OC Ghosts and Legends does?
So essentially, we're an anomalous research team by default. So that means we're investigating alleged haunted locations, and I say alleged because not everything is haunted, even though it may have a reputation. So we're out there collecting information, collecting potential evidence of spirit activity in various locations. And ideally, we want to be able to collect that information and present it to people through means of a ghost tour or a haunted event or a presentation. Basically, we want people to decide for themselves what, based on what we present to you. You think it's a ghost? We're not trying to convince you of anything.
So we have an audience tonight, so I want to ask our audience, how many people believe there's something other than just us right now? Do you believe in spirits or ghosts or something else? Raise your hand if you do. If you don't.
All right.
Look at that. That's like 75% of our audience. I will tell you, I grew up, I'm a Santa Ana born, but my family's from Capistrano. And I grew up there, and our family home is over 300 years old. And I firmly believe that there is something else than just us. I also believe God has such an imagination and such a creation, and how vain for me to think that I'm the only, we're the only thing he created. So tell us some of your experiences that you've seen or witnessed.
It was just about 4 years ago that we were here at the Gem, and we especially have a particular fondness for theaters. And actually, we're finding that theaters have presented some of the most unique evidence that we've ever obtained.
And why do you think that is?
That's an excellent question. And interestingly enough, when we do an investigation in a place like a theater, oftentimes the investigation itself will be really uneventful. So we'll kind of leave it thinking, man, we really didn't have anything going on tonight. But it's not until we listen after, where there's all kinds of chatter taking place in the background that wasn't supposed to be there. So many times, shall I say most of the time, it's really hard to decipher what's going on, but and we identify every single noise that we make through the course of the evening. And when there's 3 people in a room and there's a 4th voice talking that's not supposed to be there, I'm telling you, when you hear it, it is the most bizarre thing. Oftentimes, I think those voices. Oftentimes, I think those voices are scarier than if I saw a ghost right in front of me. It makes you feel crazy. It makes you feel.
Well, I'll tell you, when Nicole and I first moved into the theater, 15 years ago now? There would be days that I'd be working in the office and she'd be painting. There was one night in particular that I was in the office and she was painting
the girls' dressing room.
The girls' dressing room. And we would, at that point in time, we would say 18, 20 hours a day. We'd come in at 3 o'clock in the morning and work till 9 o'clock the next day. But we were working one night and something just told me, get the fuck out of the theater. And at the same point in time, Nicole heard the same voice, get the fuck out of the theater. And I ran from upstairs and she ran from downstairs and we met in the middle. But my favorite experience was during Once on This Island. Do you remember that night? So the show was over, and we were, what, all upstairs together?
All upstairs in the upstairs lobby.
And we had our friend Kelly Master Hines, the master of the house. And we both believed in spirits and ghosts and something bigger than us or something other than us. And what happened, Nicole?
There was like a loud noise that came from what we think was like the kitchen area.
So we all walked in the kitchen.
We all walked into the kitchen. Nothing was there.
And
of
Kelly
course.
Master was like, no, I don't believe in anything. I'm like, well, I do. And Kelly Master said, if there's something here, then show me. And what happened?
Loud banging noises. We all took off running. It was like every man for
ran
himself,
down the stairs.
tearing each other down the stairs to like get.
And then we all realized that
We had left all of our
everything
purses
upstairs.
and keys and
Sure.
phones and everything upstairs.
So,
and
like,
we walked
we-
like a giant clump,
like a clump
back
up the
together
stairs.
as if that was somehow going to protect us. But
And we've had lots of moments in this theater. It is what it is. Well, the theater's like, what, 90 years old now? It had 2 major fires. We found a lot of experiences that have happened in the theater. So what were some of the experiences you found?
So we all had varying personal experiences in here.
so you guys stayed overnight, right?
Yeah.
We were here most of the night, yeah, and we want a quiet location with no outside contamination sources. We had to consider the road, but we have somebody monitoring the perimeter just to kind of get an idea of what's going on outside. Somebody riding a bike, so we don't mistake that for something happening in here. I remember specifically, this was an experience that I had that I haven't forgotten. We're sitting up on that balcony there, and we're just kind of letting the stage settle, what we call it, where we're just kind of letting things run. We're letting the audio recorders run, and we're just organically just letting things settle in the environment. And I was sitting there with another investigator, and we were really quiet. And in the middle of that session of just silence, we heard a woman scream back here from this area back here. And we know that our team members were not back there. And we captured something on recording, but it was too faint to really make it out. Our recorders were pretty much situated throughout the theater, but we were kind of fixated on this area. It was such a bizarre, loud scream, and we know nobody was back there. We did get some chatter back there in the workshop area, and one of our team members specifically, and I think before I want to give this away, I want to see if you can kind of validate any of this. Has anybody on staff or in the theater experienced any apparitions of sorts on the stage, near the stage?
Well, when we first moved into the theater, I had a very good friend I called Tall Dan at the time. But Dan was a very tall man, a very good friend of ours, and we would when we first moved into the theater, we'd sit up on top, and everything would be dark, and we'd be working in the theater upstairs, and we would see like shadows, and I would be, what, is someone on the stage? Like, what's going on? And it would scare the shit out of us, and we would just leave.
So shadows.
Yeah.
Has anyone reported any type of apparition on the stage?
Well, we've heard the story for a long time that when the theater first opened, it was a vaudeville house. And then there was a fire, and by the time they built it back up, that there were these 2 women that lived in the theater for a long time, and it was during the Depression, and when everything was done, they hung themselves. When they didn't have any food left, they hung themselves.
Okay.
And that was a story we've heard for a very long time about the theater.
Right.
And we think they're there, but I will tell you this. I also had, we had the theater camp, how many years ago? Like 5, 6 years ago, we had this theater camp. And this woman brought her granddaughter to come be part of the theater camp. And she kept telling us, oh, she's very, very special. She's very, very special. And I said, oh, of course, all the kids are special. Pay your bills. But then at the end of the day, she came to me and said, my daughter's special in a different way. She sees things that no one else sees. And she sees a man with keys. And he hides the keys in the theater.
Yep.
And you asked Nicole, how
We
many
have
times?
experienced lots of loss of keys.
Yeah.
Like that's the number one thing that happens around here is like a loss of keys.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, once we had the fire and they started pulling everything out of the building, they found a pile of keys in the building.
Yeah. That sounds
keys
interesting.
that dated anything from like most recent to 60, 70, 80 years ago.
Yeah. One of our team members, and I'm fairly skeptical. I'm an open-minded skeptic. So, a lot of things can be explained. There's a natural, logical explanation for most things. Not everything's a ghost. I'll be the first person to tell you I want it to be. But there is an explanation for most things. Our tech lead, Roger, he's also a theater tech director. So he was setting up and working on our cameras, and he hasn't forgotten this. He witnessed a child spirit right over here on this side of the stairs. And Roger doesn't really see things. So when Roger, he's much like myself, when I'm kind of panicking about something and really caught off guard, same thing with Roger. It doesn't happen to him very often. So that really stood out for him. Some of the pieces of audio that we collected here are interesting, but oftentimes we investigate a location a couple times because we familiarize ourselves with the sounds, and to be able to debunk a lot of the things that could be natural.
This is air conditioning. This is the
Exactly.
light switching on.
Exactly. So we often refer to the client or the owner of the building and say, is this a familiar sound to you? It sounds weird to us, but maybe you can clarify. And not everything happens on a switch as much as we would like that. So some nights can be a dud. It can be dead, no pun intended. And then the next time you come around, if you have the belief that maybe spirit recognizes you, they're comfortable around you, or it's just something, the energy in the air that night is just working, and they decide to communicate. And so sometimes it takes a couple visits to get an interaction. But we found that the gem, in addition to other theaters that we have investigated, the chatter that's happening behind the scenes.
Oh, gosh.
So to answer your question, why? Why is a theater full of voices? Well, could it be the personalities of the people that come through here?
Sure.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing is like, we have one of those few like spots that like we have so many people come in and they leave their energy behind, and we have like 180 shows a year, so that's 160 people a night. And so, maybe it's that, or maybe it's the fact that it's been here for 90 years, or there's so many things to it. But we're so excited because you're going to come back again, aren't you?
Yes, and with your blessing, we would love to come back here and to be able to share whatever information we collect here and to compare that from our previous investigation. It's been a while, so has the energy shifted?
Oh, totally.
And-
Well, the theater's been empty. I mean, Nicole and I come in once a week now or twice a week now, but it's just been empty. And I don't know if they're like, okay, we're back to being ourselves again, because we were
It could
empty
be.
for so long.
Well, but we do we have some clips to show and share from the first time you were here?
Well, what I was mentioning to Damien is that some of the clips that we did collect, they're interesting, but we can't really define it or identify it enough. And to the average listener, it might just be a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
So we like to be able to present what we call our Class A EVPs, which are clear, that you don't really have to strain and what am I listening to? So they happen. And when we get them, and hopefully when we come back, we're going to get something that wants to talk.
Super cool.
Now, tell me about some of the tours and the things that you do for the open audience. Like, what else do you do?
So we actually run year-round, so we're not just a seasonal operation. We do regular ghost tours and events in San Juan Capistrano, historic Los Rios Street.
Okay, can I just say, Los Rios Street, do you know that I am the Rios family? That's my family home, the Rios district.
Shut
the
up.
Rios home is
Are you
my
serious?
family, yeah.
The Rios family's you're the Rios
Feliciano
family?
Rios, yes.
Oh my God,
Gertrude
that's
Rios,
crazy.
Juanita Rios Foy, that's my family.
No
Judy,
kidding.
yeah. 14th generation California, and that's my family. I talked about it earlier tonight. Like, I come
love
from
that.
Capistrano. Like,
That is crazy.
It's called Rios after my family.
It is, I know.
Yeah, so
I
that
know.
is me,
That
14th generation
is-
California.
Well, we got to talk about that because San Juan is our home base,
Yeah.
and we are so passionate about that town, and its history.
Do you know the story of the Hounds of Hell? Do you know Little Hollywood? Do you know like the Gabos? Do you know like all the families that are, I mean, please. I was saying it earlier, like I came from Capistrano. I believe
love
in
it.
ghosts. My grandmother used to serve the priest at night when I was a little kid. in the Mission, so I would be able to go to the Mission when the Mission was closed. But I wasn't allowed in the rectory, so I would sit outside
Yeah.
while she would serve them dinner.
That is
And I
so
would sit
cool.
there from dusk till dark.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that is why I'm a firm believer.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, talking about the Rios home, my grandmother and I were at the Rios Adobe the night that my Uncle Dan, my Dan was Dan Rios, he was the sheriff of Orange County, he lived up the hill, he had died. And right after he had died, and we didn't know that he had died, we had a rock path. And my grandmother heard him, because he always wore cowboy boots, and we heard him walk down the path and open the back door, which at the time was a screen, and the screen slammed shut. And she said, Dan's here, I have to make him dinner. And then the phone rang. And she picked up the phone, and she sat in the front room, and she dropped the phone, and she said, Joan just called me. That was my Uncle Dan's second wife. Uncle Dan died. But we heard him walk down the path into the back door of the house.
Yeah. You know, we have a theory with San Juan Capistrano is that, you know, for those who don't know, Los Rios Street is the oldest occupied neighborhood in California.
And my family is the oldest family owning ranch in California.
Since the 1700s, right?
Yeah, before the country was even a country.
That's a small world. That's crazy. So Stephen Rios, in relation to you,
My cousin, my second cousin.
Your cousin.
Uncle Dan's kid, his sister, my Aunt Juanita, my grandmother Juanita was his aunt.
Yeah. And the best, you know, resources for anything from that town is the people who lived there, the family members. Absolutely. In our running theory of San Juan Capistrano, Los Rios Street in particular, there's a lot of reports and legends that people will see, for example, horse-drawn carriages, and they'll see
The
it as
woman
if
in
it's
white.
the lady in white, right? They'll see this like it's clear, just as vivid as you and I.
Yeah.
And there are no horse-drawn carriages unless it's the Swallows Parade or something. But let's say you witness that. You see the horses galloping, you see the person leading the carriage, and all of a sudden, it's gone. And it's real to the person who witnesses it. This is what we consider something called residual activity.
Yeah.
And residual means it's essentially like a replay, a repeat in time. So we theorize that San Juan Capistrano predominantly is a lot of residual energy. So they can't see us. It's as if they're just going about their life. They're living. And
Well, it's a heritage. It's been there for not just 300 years, but before that, our native people, our Guaninos, have been there for thousands of years, and that's our land.
Yes.
And there's such a Californial history to what Capistrano is.
Yep.
And it's a mixture of heritage and native and Spanish and Catholic, and that's why we call it California. It's all of it together.
Yes. San Juan is an incredible historical place, and arguably
It's the oldest place in Orange County that has been in existence for thousands of years.
oldest occupied neighborhood, meaning people still live there. Your
Same family still live there.
Same family. Businesses operate out of there. But are there intelligent entities that haunt Los Rios? Absolutely. We may have encountered some of them. Intelligent meaning they're intentionally trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
They're aware of your presence. They're trying to talk to you. Versus residual, they don't know we're there. They're just living as they did, and we may catch a glimpse of them.
So you do tours of Capo? What else do you do tours of?
San Juan Capistrano, we do Black Star Canyon. That's our other signature location, which interestingly has ties to San
So
Juan.
how do we find that? How do we go to do that?
You can find us at ocghostsandlegends.com. We are on social media. Again, we're year-round, and we're constantly...
Are you doing work during COVID right now?
We are. Very smaller, more intimate groups. We do a lot of private tours, private events, so people just want it to be their family.
Well, I think it would be fun to do a private event, don't you,
It
Nicole?
would be super fun.
Chris, we're
welcome
so
anytime.
grateful that you came out tonight and shared this experience. And
Yeah.
who would have thought that Gem Theater and Capo and me and you would have all had the
Small
same
world.
experience together? Well, I think it's time to do a little drink to Chris, a little drink to the Ghosts and Legends.
Let's do it.
Here
Let's
we
do
go.
it. Cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Very nice. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys.
Thank you all.
There's something strange
Let's go do a shot. Come on, guys.